Welcome to Sideline Sanity with me, Michele Tafoya, sponsored by Legacy Precious Metals. There has never been a better time to invest in precious metals. Go to legacypminvestments.com, legacypminvestments.com. Coming up, we're going to talk to a man who basically sacrificed a career in the NBA to do the right thing. Would you have the same courage? Stay tuned.
For nearly 3 decades, she's reported the action from the sidelines. She started very young. She's covered the NBA, NFL, Olympics, and the college football and basketball national championships. And now, during these insane times in our world, Michele Tafoya thinks we need a serious dose of sanity. This is Sideline Sanity with your host, one of the sanest people on planet Earth, Michele Tafoya.
I never like wasting time on this podcast, so let's jump right in with Enes Kantor Freedom, formerly Enes Kantor, legally changed his last name to Freedom. It's a great story. Enes, I can't thank you enough. I want to start from the beginning. Those who know you have seen you play basketball in the NBA. Those who don't know you should know you used to play basketball in the NBA, and right now you're not. And I think you and I probably both know why. But how would you explain to this audience why you're not playing in the NBA? You're what, 30?
30. Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And second, unfortunately, I'm 30 years old and they are pushing me to retire at the age of 30. And you know what? I'm not going to because I know I can play another 5, 6 years in this league. When you talk about some of the problems that are happening around the world and when the things that you talk about affects people money and people business and they're going to do anything they can to silence you, especially if that is NBA. The hypocrisy is I've been talking about the problems that are happening in my home country, Turkey, the last 10 years. And NBA has been very supportive. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, texted me twice on my phone and said, hey, we got your back, whatever you need, we are here for you. And I was super excited. I was like, wow, NBA and also the people from the NBA became my family. And then later, I started to talk about the problems that are happening in China. And they were seeing whatever I say, it was affecting their business. So, here I am now. Since February, I have not touched a basketball.
I remember when it happened, you were with Boston, if I'm not mistaken, got traded to Houston, and they promptly released you. Is that what happened?
So, first of all, to all this, to our audience, I mean, it's not rocket science because just last year I played with Portland Trail Blazers. I started many games. I averaged double-double, and we made the playoffs, right? And we won some games in playoffs. And you're telling me, literally 6 months later, I forgot how to play basketball. It's the craziest thing. So I did get released in February. I got traded to Houston Rockets, and then they released me. Which later on, probably like 3 weeks ago, we found out that 40 NBA owners had $10 billion tied up in China.
Yeah.
And guess what? Over $165 million is a Houston Rockets owner. And there it is.
It felt like when it happened, when I saw that you got traded from Boston to Houston and then immediately released, I thought, well, this was a calculated move. Boston didn't want to be the team that cut you. So instead they involved you in a trade and left it to the other team to cut you. That's what it felt like to me. Did any of that make sense to you?
I'll tell you a story. I remember starting to talk about all these problems that are happening in China, and I started to criticize Nike and NBA. Even my teammates were saying, they're like, dude, this is your last year. I hope you win a championship because you are not going to touch a basketball. You are not going to play in this league ever again after this year. And I was like, I cannot believe it. Literally, they're telling me that this is my last year because I talk about some of the problems that are happening in China. So I was very, very sad and confused same time because I was asking my teammates, like, listen, this is the right thing to do. Why don't you just join me? They're like, listen, man, we love you. We support you. I think what you're doing is so amazing, but we just cannot do it out loud. I will ask them why. They're like, well, we have shoe deals. We want to get another contract, our next paycheck. And when I ask them about, put yourself in people in shoes in China. There are so many people are getting tortured and raped every day. If your family was in that situation, would you still pick money? No answer.
Right. Right. I mean, it's really that part of it is so predictable and yet so shameful. I want to start with a few little facts about your life and how you became a player. I want to do that after one quick break. Let's take a break. More with Enes Kantor Freedom in a moment. So I learned about a problem I didn't know existed. 85% of the grass-fed beef that you find in stores and online, it's imported from overseas. So you could be paying a premium price for low quality foreign meat. But I also learned there's an answer to that problem, and it's Good Ranchers. They guarantee 100% American meat delivered to your door for a great price. They help you solve this problem, and you get to support American farms and ranches with every purchase. And that's what I love about it. So you can jump online, use my promo code, which is Tafoya, Tafoya. Go to goodranchers.com/Tafoya, or just use the code at checkout. And right now, they've got this limited offer, but it's a pretty good one. You get two 18-ounce prime rib steaks. Those will be thrown in for free with your order. So check that out ASAP. And when you subscribe to Good Ranchers, you get $25 off every box. And this is American beef, chicken, salmon, you name it. Good Ranchers sells 100% American meat. Again, it ships straight to your door. So start the summer off right. Throw the best stuff on your grill with Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Enes Kantor Freedom, you were born in Switzerland, right?
Yep.
And your parents were both Turkish.
Yep.
So what was your sort of awakening as you grew up first to basketball? When did you start playing basketball?
I started playing basketball actually very late because I wanted to be a soccer player. That was like the number one sport in my country, Turkey. So I was too tall for it. I guess too slow for it. They would keep making me a goalkeeper, and I quit soccer. I started playing basketball when I was 14 years old, actually. And 5 years later, I got drafted by the NBA in 2011.
Were you were drafted out of Turkey? You were an international player who was
I,
drafted?
I went to prep school
Okay.
in California. Then I went to college in Kentucky.
Okay,
Well,
right.
because the reason is I wanted to get my education and play basketball at the same time. It's not possible in Turkey. So that's
Okay.
why, my dad told me I want you to be a good student before being a good basketball player. So that's why I came to America, went to college. It was an amazing time. Then I got drafted by Kentucky.
So it sounds like your dad and really emphasized education, and it sounds like you have your values straight here. So you get drafted into the NBA, and as you said, you start talking about your home country, Turkey, and you got support. And then it just dried up when you started talking about China. We know that Nike has factories in China. We know that LeBron James has a massive contract with Nike. There was a little bit of back and forth between you and LeBron, arguably the most popular player next to Steph Curry in the NBA. Um, have you had a chance to speak to LeBron, or is that still just not happening?
First of all, I'm not only targeting him. When I call him
Right.
out, that he's like the face of the league. So obviously, he has a power to inspire maybe millions of kids out there in the world. But it just kills me inside when he picks money over morals and principle and values. No, unfortunately, we never had a kind of conversation with him. But if we ever had a conversation with him, I don't want to say I want to educate him, because I feel like he already knows what's going on. You know, it's just matter of like, are you choosing the right side? You know, um, so no, we never had a conversation. But if we ever had a conversation, I will just say, listen, man, you just made, I think it was like a week ago, you just hit $1 billion. So what else you want more? Why don't, if you say something against these hypocrite companies or organization and associations, you can inspire so many kids out there. And that's what you want to do. You've been telling people that, you want our kids to grow up in a better future and brighter future. So
Yeah.
why don't you just do the right thing? Um, so that is the one thing that kills me inside.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we all know what's going on, but you've had very personal experiences, obviously, in Turkey. When did China come on your radar? As it's been on mine for several years as well. I don't buy things made in China anymore. I'm sure that I did in my past. I have stopped because of what I understand about genocide, slavery, the Uyghur, targets in China. When did you start to understand that connection between China and the NBA?
So just last summer, I was doing a basketball camp for kids in New York, and I did this basketball camp. It was amazing. And then right after the basketball camp, I was taking pictures and giving autographs for the kids. I took a picture with this kid, and his parent called me out in front of everybody. Media was there, the kids was there, other people was there, the fans was there. They're like, how can you call yourself a human rights activist when your Muslim brothers and sisters are getting tortured and raped every day in concentration camp in China? I was like, whoa. I was so shocked. I took a picture with this kid. I was still smiling for the camera. I turned around to that parent. I was like, I promise I'm going to get back to you. So that day, I canceled everything. I went back to my, hotel, and I started to study about what's happening in China. And the things that I have, read, it shattered my heart. I have seen, what Uyghurs are going through, what Tibetans and Hong Kongers are going through, what Mongolians are going through, what, Taiwan is about to, I hope not, going through. But I was like, I don't care whatever it takes. I'm gonna do whatever I can to bring awareness about what's going on. You know. So the next 2 months I studied about what's going on, and then I wanted to make a very unique way because when I was a kid, I remember whenever I watched an NBA game, the first thing I was watching was the shoes. What brand, if it's comfortable, and I was going there and buying the shoes. So I created the shoes. It's 100% no slave labor, made in America, you know, and I put this different designs. It says free Tibet, stand with Hong Kong, free Uyghurs, and I stop organ harvesting and stop surveillance cameras and stuff. And I went out there with those shoes. I remember first game we played in the most famous arena in the world, Madison Square Garden. The game was on ESPN. I put the free Tibet shoes, went out there. I remember, we sang the national anthem. We were in a huddle, and then while it was like a minute before the game, two gentlemen from the Celtics came to me and said, "You have to take your shoes off." I was very confused. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Your shoes has been getting so much attention. We've been getting so much pressure. You have to take your shoes off." It was the perfect moment because I was just getting ready for my citizenship test. I closed my eyes. I was like, okay, there are 27 amendments. My first amendment, freedom of speech, right? It was like the perfect moment. I was like, you cannot take that away from me. I'm not taking my shoes off. So there, I was like, I don't care even if I get fined. I'm not taking them off because there's no rules against it. And they're like, we are not talking about fine. We're talking about getting banned. So these gentlemen were literally threatening me to get banned because of I'm using my free speech in America. That's the
Yeah.
craziest part.
Yeah.
In a halftime, I went back to my locker room. There was thousands of notification. I clicked on my manager, and he's like, every Celtics game is banned in China. It literally took them 24 minutes to ban every Celtics game in Chinese television. I was like, well, this clearly shows that the censorship and dictatorship and how much they scared of an NBA player, to 29-year-old NBA player. to just wearing the shoes. That clearly showed my point.
Did you take off the shoes for the second half?
So, first of all, I did not. Of course not. And after the game, I was getting so much call and pressure, me and my manager. And they're like, you have to take your shoes off. You cannot wear them ever again. And I was like, okay, I promise you I'm not going to wear free Tibet shoes ever again. And the next game, right? And everybody was like, relief, everybody feeling good. I wear free Uyghur shoes. Oh, they're like, you're a liar. You just lied to us. We can't trust you anymore. I was like, hold on a second. I told you I'm not going to wear free Tibet shoes. I never said I'm not going to wear free Uyghur shoes. At that point, they understand I am not going to apologize and take my tweet down and say I made a mistake or say I, was not educated about it and stuff. I was like, I'm going to go hard and I'm going to expose every little detail, every wrongdoing that the Chinese doing.
I mean, there are so many parts of this that are remarkable. First off is your courage. And I wonder where you come by that, because as you found out, so many of your teammates didn't possess that same courage. So many people in America don't possess that kind of courage to where they think, well, first of all, maybe they haven't studied their amendments and they don't realize that it's okay to speak out. It is really the government that cannot take your free speech away. I suppose private companies and leagues can, but where did you come by this courage is the bottom line.
Well, I mean, my whole life, my family has been giving me that, literally telling me to do what's right, even if it means sacrificing everything. And I was talking about the problems that are happening in Turkey because, I mean, there is another dictatorship is happening in Turkey, and there are so many political prisoners and so many innocent people are suffering. I was like, okay, these are my people, but the people, human is human. It doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter they're Uyghur, they're Turkish, they are Ukrainian. Like, you have to stand up for those innocent people if there is a wrong, especially if you have that power in your hand. God, I feel like God gave me this huge platform to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Just because of it's affecting NBA's money and I'm exposing their hypocrisy, I'm not gonna, be silent about it.
I just admire it so much, Enes. I really do. I think it's rare, and we need more of it. And clearly, if you kind of boil this down, that basketball camp with that one parent shouting at you, that one voice made such a difference in the world. One voice, because he affected you, and you took this whole new stance about the Uyghurs and China, and here we are now. I know you've talked to so many different outlets about your story, and it's such an important story. When we come back, I want to ask Enes why he wanted to add freedom to his name. We'll talk about that right after this. Folks, since November of last year, the stock market has plummeted, but gold, on the other hand, has been on the rise. Gas prices are ridiculous. They're beyond insane. The stock market is so volatile. Inflation is worse than it was a year ago. And now we have the war with Russia and Ukraine that could spread outside of that area. The bottom line is markets don't like instability. But then there's good news. You have options. Gold prices are rising as investors turn to gold for protection because gold provides a hedge against inflation and it protects against a weakening dollar. Legacy Precious Metals is the only company I trust for investing in gold and silver because you need an investment that's going to protect your wealth in retirement. You want to call Legacy Precious Metals like today because you want to be proactive while there's still time. If you recall, 2008, those who invested in gold saw huge gains while other people simply lost their retirements. Legacy Precious Metals can advise you on all of your options for investing in gold and silver. You have nothing to lose by just calling them. You can speak to an IRA expert at Legacy Precious Metals, 866-528-1903, 866-528-1903, or download their free investor's guide at legacypminvestments.com, legacypminvestments.com. He was Enes Kantor, born in Switzerland to Turkish parents, raised in Turkey, came here to play basketball, prep school in high school, and then Kentucky, and then the NBA. But along the way, it mattered to you, Enes, to become an American citizen. Why was that so important to you?
I remember I was 9 years old. I went downstairs to play with my friends, and I remember my friends were burning American flags. I remember my friends were burning Israeli flags, and they were calling Americans evil. They were calling, Jewish people, unfortunately, devil and stuff, right? I got, I remember I got so scared. I went upstairs to my apartment. I asked my mom immediately. I was like, Mom, I have, a lot of friends out there right now. They're burning the American flags. They're burning Israeli flags. They're, calling America evil, and they're calling this like the most horrifying country in the world. I was like, what should I do? And they're telling me to hate it too. And my mom is like, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but till you meet any of them, do not hate. I was like, okay. I remember I came, for prep school in America when I was 17 years old. And the things that I have witnessed, the freedom that I have in America, or the people, or they were so kind and genuine from the first moment they opened their arm, gave me a warm welcome. And I think the perfect moment was when I was 17 years old. I went to I went to prep school, and after the practice, one of my teammates criticized the president, and I got so scared for him. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And like, what? I was like, I just seen your post, and he's like, okay. I was like, well, you might be in jail the next day. Well, he started to laugh because, well, when I grew up in Turkey, like people don't understand. When I grew up, if you criticize the government, if you say anything against the regime or the president, you'll be in jail the next day. My manager's wife's dad, liked one of my posts on Twitter. He was in jail for 13 days for just liking one of my posts.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so, th- and he sit down. He's like, "Dude, this is not Turkey. This is America." And I was very confused by what he said. I was like, "What do you mean?" Well, he tried to explain to me about what freedom of speech, religion, expression, what democracy is. And he tried to tell me about checks and balances, rules and laws, which I had no idea what he meant. And later on, I, started to study, and I, witnessed about, well, what's going on in America. I was like, this is so amazing. People should feel so blessed to be in this situation. I was like, well, I'm playing NBA, and there are millions of kids watching every day. And I'm just going to add this beautiful name, beautiful phrase on my, making my last name, and just go out there and play. And so people would know how blessed they are. So they can research about what happened with my story, and so they can feel even more blessed. And so that was the reason.
It's incredible. It's just it's got to stun you a little bit when you see, and it happens a lot in the NBA. There are appropriate and totally justified social justice movements in this country, but there's a lot of hatred spewed by Americans toward America. How does that? How do you view that?
Well, I mean, obviously, first of all, I'm not saying America is perfect. Everyone has their own, every country has their own problems.
Mhm.
But I think I was watching this amazing movie, Anchorman. I'm sure everyone watched it.
Yes.
The best I've ever seen in a movie was Ron Burgundy. He said, if you want to see some real dictatorship, you need to swim your ass to cross the ocean, cross the ocean, and see what China is doing. I was like, that is the best line I've ever witnessed. But people, whenever I, whenever people criticize America, exactly, I'm like, well, you're not traveling a lot. When you go to countries like Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, I can go on and on,
Mhm.
then you will see some real dictatorship.
Mhm.
Those people are suffering every day, and those people are getting killed on the streets and losing their lives and losing their loved ones, losing their homes, and no one even hears about it. In this country, you have freedom to do whatever you want to do. You hate the government, you love the government, you are against the president or whatever party whatever party you're cheering for, you can say it out loud, and you can post whatever you want to post. I mean, people don't know how blessed they are.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that amazes me, the biggest stain, obviously, on the history of this country was was slavery, which ended way too late. It should never have happened. We can all agree on that. And yet there's slavery going on, as you point out, in China and other places. And so when we buy a teacup or a pair of jeans or I said teacup because there's one sitting right next to me, or a television remote, very likely it is tied in some way to slave labor, and we seem to accept that here when we are so rightly disgusted by our own history. Why do you think people can't make the connection? Is it just too inconvenient?
Well, not just slavery. There's a genocide happening
Yeah.
right now. Um, People are often asking me, "Well, I don't have an NBA platform, or I don't have millions of followers. What can I do?" It's so simple. When you're about to buy something, you pick it up. You see "Made in China," put it down. It's literally that simple. Um, I feel like we can make whatever that they're making in China. We can make it way better in America. That's why I want to actually start this new trend, or maybe build something about just 100% made in America. Maybe
Yeah.
clothes or shoes, or some sportswear, so the kids can just go out there and just wear it. Because when you buy shoes from Nike, when you buy shoes from some of the other companies who had tie with, slave labor, you literally become a part of the problem. And as parents out there, they have to educate their kids. So I feel like, first of all, we need to start with our house, educate our house, and just whenever you see "Made in China," put it down and make sure our kids knows about it, because whatever they make it in China, we can make it way better in America.
Yeah, and I think we need to start, maybe we're starting to see that we can't always rely on other countries to get us the things that we really rely on. We're seeing that right now here in America. We're having shortages. There's supply chain issues. I think you're right. We used to make the best cars in the world right in Detroit, and we've sort of given that all away. And I'm not entirely sure why that is, but I'm 100% with you, and I think it drives my kids crazy whenever we're in the store and they say, "Oh, could we get the whatever?" And I say, "No, we cannot because it was made in China. Sorry, guys." And they just, but
Right.
they will grow to understand this, and I am showing them. I'm setting my own example for them because I think it's that important. I know you've been asked, Ennis, a number of times if you knew going in that this was what was going to happen, that your basketball career was basically going to be taken away from you. Would you
Mm.
do it again?
Of course, I mean, because like people keep asking me that question a lot. I mean, people need to understand this is bigger than myself. This is bigger than my next paycheck. This is bigger than NBA. Because this is bigger than everything I'm standing for. Because while I'm making millions here and living my best life in America, the other side of the ocean, people are getting killed, and there's forced abortion and sterilization and surveillance cameras everywhere, or there's tortures and gang rape. Well, I remember talking to, because when I started to talk about these problems, I was like, on internet you can find all kind of news, good news, bad news, fake news, real news. As manager, I was like, listen, I need you to find me a concentration camp survivor. Obviously he was very shocked. He's like, why do you want to talk to a concentration camp survivor? Because I was like, I want to know what they've been through. So I sit down, had a conversation with this lady. The things that she told me, I was like, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe the world is still sleeping. Or I don't know if they're sleeping, or I don't know if they're just don't want to talk about it. Because what breaks my heart, like there are so many Muslim countries out there, so many Muslim leaders out there, which calls themselves the leader of the Muslim world, which one of them is the Turkish president. They're talking about every problem are happening around the world, but when it comes to China, just because of economy, just because of they got billions of dollars are tied up with that country, they are not saying a word about it. So I was like, whatever it takes, I'm just gonna go out there. And it was the perfect moment because it was right before the Beijing Olympics, right?
Right.
I was praying to God every night. I was like, God, please send me one more athlete. I reached out to so many, not just people in NBA, but different organizations, associations, and different Olympians. They all said the same thing. No, we cannot talk about it. I even talk about someone from WNBA, you know, not just men, because this is not a man or woman issue. This is everybody's issue, you know. Well, we were gonna do, actually we were about to just do something about it and talk about the Uyghurs. We were gonna make a combined, like, joint video, but the day before the video, they're like, well, sorry, I have a Nike contract and they don't want me to, you know, talk to you about it. I was like, I cannot believe they're doing this, you know. But I have no regrets because I know this is the right thing to do. And I mean, of course I love basketball. I wish I could play another like 5 6 years in this league. But what kills me inside, how I'm asking to our audience, how 100% American made company, NBA, is controlled by a Chinese dictatorship. How are we letting this happen? That's why whenever I sit down with a senator or a congressman, they are so mad about this. They're like, we cannot believe China is even controlling our 100% American made companies. So that's why the hypocrisy was out there, and someone from the inside had to expose it.
I'm so impressed with you. I knew I would be. I've been impressed with you just from afar, and I'm even more so now. You're so committed to this, which I think would be very difficult for a lot of people. You've made it a priority. What is next? What's going to happen? I mean, it sounds as though sure you'd love to play in the NBA. Is anyone going to sign you? It sounds like the league doesn't want to take that risk, which is so sad and so counter to what America is supposed to stand for, which again is freedom of expression, freedom of speech. And yet you wear a pair of shoes out there, China makes a threat and they say, take off your shoes. So what will you do? What can you do? What are you doing from this point forward, Ennis, to further your cause and to also just to exist here in America?
Well, first of all, I wanted to wake people up. That was the first goal. Because NBA is just the only like small sample. You see, there are so many other, because China knows they cannot invade America from the outside, so they're trying to invade America from the inside by taking over Wall Street, academias, big tech, um, you know, Congress, some of the local congresses. So it's like Hollywood, sports world. So like I wanted to open that door and let people know what's going on. Well, the next is, if my sport career ended, I created a foundation, and I'm just gonna keep doing my human rights work from this foundation. I'm just gonna keep bringing awareness about what's going on, but we always say in the locker room, don't just talk about it, be about it. I mean, just a few months ago, we just passed a legislation in the Senate and Congress that if you're a company and if you have anything to do with the slave labor, you are not allowed to, step into America. President Biden signed it, so that is going to cost billions of dollars if you're a company and if you have anything to do with slave labor. Well, I think the next is I'm just going to keep try to inspire all these young athletes out there, and I hope I give them a courage to talk about the real problems, and to open their eyes. So, well, a lot of people are telling me to get in politics, but I feel like it's a little too early for me. But I mean, I think I have an amazing message, and it's so pure, and it's human rights, and I don't care which party you're cheering for, which side you're on, right, left, middle, whoever you are, you care about human rights.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep spreading this beautiful message.
I love it. One thing that I wish would happen, because we are seeing more people pay attention to this, thanks in large part to you, and you're telling people if you see it's made in China, put it down. Why can't we, in places that like Detroit, that used to just own the auto industry, build these shoe factories here? And I know maybe it would jack up the price of shoes a little bit, but it can't be that significant. I just maybe I'm naive. I would like to see more entrepreneurialism here in America. I would like to see more um, people investing in companies that are strictly, made in America companies, or if, non-slave labor. How about that? I wish it would happen.
I'm actually like doing a project about it, that which is a clothes or shoe line, which is 100% no slave labor, made in America. So people just can go out there and just be part of the solution, not the problem. You know, because once you buy a Nike product, because it just the hypocrisy is killing me. You see, like I'm just keep giving an example from the Nike because they are the biggest sponsor of NBA, and you see in America they stand with Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ community, no Asian hate, Latino community, right? And they're calling themselves a social justice company, and they are making this athletes a social justice warrior and stuff. But when it comes to one specific topic, China, nothing. You know, so I feel like we definitely need to do something about this.
And for people who don't get it, China is home to billions of eyeballs that watch the NBA, that watch movies from Hollywood. So they don't want to lose that market. This is all about the almighty dollar. Don't get it twisted. That's what it is. And it's, I think, again, that's what makes your courage outstanding, is that you're just basically saying morality is more valuable than the dollar. And I congratulate you. I want to stay in touch with you and follow your projects because we want to promote them here. And I thank you for your courage and for your determination and your commitment to doing the right thing. It's as simple as that. You have all my respect.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. He is Enes Kantor Freedom. Watch out for him and all he is doing, and throw your support behind him, because we're talking about, as he said, genocide, horrific things happening in China and other parts of the world that we would never tolerate here. So why would we tolerate it anywhere? This has been Sideline Sanity. I'm Michele Tafoya. So, with the economy the way that it is, which is not great, makes you think about what is smart investing these days. I was given a gift of gold by my mom. My husband and I were gifted some gold for a wedding anniversary, and we're really grateful. And I am really grateful to Charles Thorngren, who joins us now from Legacy Precious Metals, a sponsor of Sideline Sanity. Charles, we appreciate you so much. We're hearing more and more about how inflation ain't transitory after all, and it may be here a while. And food shelves are the lines are longer. This is really, it's not the America I grew up in, and it's worrying a lot of people. So if someone's thinking about investing, what do you tell them?
It's an interesting conversation. Investing nowadays, we want to go back to kind of the basics, really, where diversification has always been key, and we hear it. We've been told it ad nauseum. Diversify, diversify, and then everyone puts all their money in the stock market and wonders why, when there's a pullback, they're in trouble. Diversity means asset class diversity as well. Some real estate, some precious metals. These are the things that gives your portfolio the legs to stand through all the storms that will happen financially. And we know that they happen. They happen continuously and they recur. So that's what diversity is truly meant to do. And that's why people used to talk about diversity.
So when people see the value of the dollar declining, or they see inflation, how do you get the average person like me to understand that gold can still be appreciating, or that gold can protect against that stuff? How does that make sense for people?
The easiest way to look at it is, if you look at gold, right? Gold is the anti-dollar investment. As a dollar gets weaker, gold gets stronger. And we know that because it takes more dollars to buy that gold, just like cars cost more now, right? Anytime you have inflation, the item that you're buying costs more. The difference with gold is that it doesn't devalue. It's considered a alternative currency. Basically, when you say that I don't have complete faith that this financial system is not built on a house of cards, or I don't have complete faith in what the current Fed is doing to fight inflation, this is where gold comes in. And this is where we see people increase their amount of gold, because a diversified portfolio should have some gold regardless. We need to remember that the United States Fed says 2 to 3% inflation is ideal. So that means for the average saver, if your retirement account's invested and it's based in dollars, that you're going to lose 60% of your purchasing power to inflation by the time you're ready to retire. And that's under the best of terms. And now we can talk about it's transitory. Oh, no, maybe I was wrong. Maybe we need to do half basis points every month for the rest of the year and then see where it's at next year. These are scary things that the
Mhm.
experts are trying to tell us, that maybe we didn't have it right. And this is why people have gold, and this is why it offers that protection.
It's interesting. I think people think, well, if I'm investing in gold, do I actually possess the gold I have it in a safe? Do I have, how do you get gold? How do you keep gold?
Right. And physical gold. I mean, this is what we do. So, yes, if you're buying it outside of an IRA, we can deliver it right to your home, and you can put it in your own safe. You can put it in your safety deposit box. If you don't feel comfortable with that, we do offer storage for our clients as well. Okay. So, there's lots of options. In the IRA, it's stored for you, just like your IRA account. You don't have access to those stocks. So, if you were to take funds from your IRA, you could make that investment, and you'd have the retirement account invested in the precious metals as well. And it would be handled just like every other IRA account.
That's really interesting. And now I'm going to ask you a tough one, and I hope you'll forgive me, but I'm just going to be candid ask what I think might be coming to people's minds.
Sure.
If the experts in Washington are making all these mistakes, or they were wrong about inflation, then they're going to look at you and say, "Hey, Charles, why should I trust what you're telling me, and why legacy precious metals is the place to go?" I'm asking this in an honest way
Sure.
because I know you want to be transparent about this stuff. So how would you answer
Absolutely.
that?
It really is. I'm not a politician. I have no desire to be a politician. I like what I do, right? I help people prepare their finances. I help people with their retirements. I help people set up their funds so that their children and their grandchildren have something that's there. This is what I do. This is what I do for enjoyment. Very big in economics. Um, but metals is that thing that it's an alternative asset, right? When I was a stockbroker 30 plus years ago, it was unique kind of then. And then everybody was a stockbroker and everyone had stocks, and there was nothing different. There was no protection. Everyone said the same thing. To me, it didn't make sense for everyone to be doing the same thing. If we all do the same thing, then we all fall together. And we know that if you follow the government's direction, you're buying into whatever they want to sell you. Now, it used to be politics was a little different. We've gotten into a place where we can't say that anymore. It's not always for the people. It's we see that what they're doing with the economy itself. We know that we have to have something else, and this is why we do what we do here at Legacy. And my history is why people should give us a call, chat with us, and see if it makes sense for them.
Last thing I want to ask you about is, I remember 2008, and I know a lot of
Mm,
people do. And that was a crash, and there have been other crashes. But why is it that when the economy crashes, gold has historically risen? I know you said it's sort of the anti-dollar.
right.
Is there a way, in layman's terms, to explain why that happens?
It's the safe place, right? When there's so much risk out there and people are losing so much money, they just want safety.
Mhm.
So let's look at inflation. We know right now we're running close to 8.5%.
Yeah.
Uh, we can dig some real numbers out there and we can debate that, but we'll just take that number as it is. We'll use 8%. That means everything cost you 8% more this year than it did last year. And we know it's going to go higher because the Fed's already promised us a lot more interest rate raises, right, to fight inflation. But we know it's not enough. When they say things like, we'll try to raise half a basis point, 5 times over the next 6 months and see where the economy's at next year, that in itself lets you know you need to find something that doesn't put your livelihood in their hands. They're juggling an economy and the stock market, and it was never meant to be that way. So you have to protect yourself. And this is where gold comes in because it is the anti-dollar. The weaker the dollar gets, the stronger gold gets. And 2008, I remember after it happened, the people that would call and try to salvage their retirement accounts, and it was a very devastating time. People would call and they would be crying that they can't retire now. They have to continue to work. They're 67 years old and their plans are gone because they lost half their value. And that's devastating, but this is where those who were involved in gold, they saw gold almost double in price. It offset the losses.
It offset the losses. So again, Charles is not suggesting that you put all your money in one
No.
place, that not even gold, but diversify your assets, and precious metals is a good way to go. And Legacy Precious Metals is the only company I trust when I talk about and do my investing in gold and silver. And you can contact them as well. LegacyPMinvestments.com, LegacyPMinvestments.com. I don't know why you would waste another minute thinking about it. Just talk to them. I mean, just ask them, see what your situation can manage and handle and might require, and just get some answers. Charles, I appreciate your time. Thanks for this. It's been very educational.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.